Hello everyone, welcome to 101 Talks with Sachin Menon. Today we are diving into a topic that sits at the heart of modern sales and technology, the future of AI in sales, from hype to real impact. Joining me is Ioanna, CEO of Dextego. Ioanna works at the intersection of sales, behavioral intelligence, and real-time coaching. Ioanna, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you, Sachin. I'm excited for our conversation.
To start us off, can you give us a quick snapshot of your journey from your earlier career to building Dextrego and the problem you felt truly needed to be solved?
Absolutely, yes. So my background is pretty diverse. I started actually in fashion. I got very much into psychology at school. I studied psychology for my undergrad and then gone into talent development for my master's, where I also studied strategic management. So it was always a combination of business and human psychology. And in short, I found my path into industrial organizational psychology, thinking I was going to pursue my PhD on this topic. Always very curious about, how we develop talent, how we develop soft skills like communication, collaboration, negotiation, which are transferable skills, right? Like we see them a lot in sales, but honestly in any profession. And through that, I found my way in a startup prior to founding Dextego that also did AI in sales, but focused on basically lead generation. And there I was in charge of people, like I was the VP of people and chief of staff, hiring talent from sales, CS across the board, and building, learning programs for them. And I realized that these skills I just referred to are very hard to develop just through an online course, because you have to learn by doing, by speaking to people, by closing deals, by handling objections. And that can be a very tough and long way to learn that a lot of companies cannot afford, right? Like we can't just hire whoever and give them 6 months to just learn on the job without yielding any results. So it's a very crucial problem to be solved. Yet technology back then, like 3-4 years ago, was very limited. And that's kind of where I realized that AI can play a huge role in creating personalized coaching experiences at scale that focus on the best practices of the company, yet target the individual needs of each seller or any employee, really. Because we started with sales, but our goal as Dextego is to be the enterprise layer of coaching. And that means that it can be across departments. So long story short, I realized the need to help people learn on the job in a personalized way that fits in their daily goals. What does that mean? Let's say I have a call with you, like in half an hour. I go to Dextego, I prep with a digital buyer that resembles you, that speaks and objects, the same way, that has the key motivators you have. And basically I pitch that avatar and then get feedback on what I did great and how I can improve, while it, of course, makes sure I follow my sales playbook and what my sales leader wishes I do during the call, making sure that human interaction when the time comes for a meeting is on the front. Like it tells me how I can build trust with you and close the deal faster without using AI to replace the seller.
Okay. It sounds very interesting. I want to dwell more into it, but I'll do it in the second section of mine, where we go more into the Stego and its working style. But now, in my research, you have stated several times that sales is about people first, technology second. What moment in your journey made you believe that or made this click for you?
Yeah, I think I always really, respected people with these soft skills more than technical skills. I think
Mhm.
how I am as a consumer is I buy things from people that really leave an impact on me. And that's how most people are. Like, we're very emotional creatures, right? Like, we might know on paper that one product is better than the other, yet we'll go with the one our friend has or someone that referred us to them. And at the end of the day, it's how people make you feel. Let's say you have let's say we have like two coaches for fitness. They offer the same thing. They both promise you will lose weight. Yet the one speaks to you in a way that is more empathetic and hypes you up and gives you compliments, versus the other makes you feel bad, like, oh, you have to lose that weight or else no one will like you, for example, right? It's the approach. It's always how people say things, not what they say. And therefore, I think that if you manage to teach people that, teach them empathy and teach them how to adjust their communication style based on who they're speaking to rather than what they sell, it can make all the difference. And then I saw it in practice. So I took my personal experience. So in the previous job I had, how the deals got won. And a lot of times it was not the seller that knew the ins and outs of the product. It was the one who was able to communicate and articulate the value proposition in a way that was very easily understood by the prospect. The prospect could imagine themselves using the platform. And at the end of the day, any software you buy includes change management, right? It's a new solution you have to use. It's something net new you have to do on a daily basis, that it is an obstacle. Like, no one wants to change their routine. No one wants to have to learn a new tool. So how can you lesser that pain by making the gain be seen in a way that's like, of course, I want to buy. That is all soft skills.
So you are stating that the positive approach is always the right way.
I'm not saying that. I think it depends on what the person wants. Like, for example, back to the situation with a coach, right? I know, let's say, athletes who want to be yelled at and others that just want someone to boost their morale. It depends. So you have as a seller to learn to adjust your communication style based on who you're speaking to. But if you have the mindset of, oh, that doesn't matter, it's only the best product wins, like I just need to know the ins and outs of the product and the features and this and that, and you don't sell the value, then you're already, like, you're gonna lose. You're behind. Because today in 2025, it's not the best product wins. It's the best storytelling, the best brand, the best seller wins.
True, very true. You are also very deeply involved in the women founder and leadership communities. How has that perspective influenced the way you think about AI and people development?
It's a great question. And Sachin, I'll tell you, I've seen so many female founders speak and explain their products, and I can always see a mission-driven approach behind. Like, there is a big why they build versus lots of male founders. And this is, of course, an overgeneralization, but I'm sharing this from my experience. Lots of male founders just build to build, like, because of an engineering perspective, a problem they see they want to fix, but not because necessarily this will have a big impact on society or it's going to save us time to be more creative and do something else. Like, it's just a different reasoning why they build things. I've also seen that female founders are much more open about their problems, like they're more vulnerable, which actually turns out to be a huge benefit because that's how they get more support. If you don't tell people you need help, how will they know to help you? So the spaces where female founders meet and work with each other are always a combination of personal and professional challenges that they share, because we bring our whole self at work. I feel like male founders are much more able to separate the two. Like, okay, this is my business side, this is my personal side. And I feel like women show up differently, and that empathy they have personally comes at work. They want to create safe spaces for the company, for their employees. They're more willing to talk things through. And yeah, it's just a very different way of leading. And to me, it's been very inspiring to see more and more women step into the AI side and try to use technology to free time so they can do more things. But we have a long way to go, right? It's still very much men dominated, I would say. Tech overall, but let alone AI.
Yeah, truly admiring what you're doing in your community, right?
Thanks, Susan.
Now let's connect this thinking and go to your journey into Dextego. And I will give you a trick question. For someone hearing Dextego for the first time, how would you explain Dextego without using the word AI?
Yeah, I would say we help sales teams really connect with their buyers in a more humane way by giving them insights on their personality and communication style prior to meeting them. We give them a safe space to practice difficult conversations and fail and learn as much as they need to prior to that call so they don't practice in front of the buyer.
I love how Dextego prepares sellers before the call and not after the deal is lost. What's actually changing in how people think, communicate, or behave using Dextego?
Yeah, for the last few years, note takers have been everywhere, right? So a lot of people have confused coaching as a post call activity. Like, coaching is not, first of all, a one time thing. So it's not only, before either. But when I get a summary of a call and I just know what happened, I don't necessarily know why it happened or how to improve. So I think note takers really have caused this issue where people think the best coaching happens after. After is way too late. I think the best time to practice is before something happens. And it's like saying, okay, you have a TEDx talk to give next year. Will you practice after? Like, it's a one-time event. You have only one shot. So you have to focus on what happens before. And that's how I think sales should be treated. It's not, oh, okay, that deal fall through, whatever, we'll get the next one. Today, I think sales is such a competitive thing. Like, it's so hard to get in front of buyers, especially in B2B SaaS, that the moment you get a lead, you have to do everything you can to make it work. And so preparation is key, especially if you're a first-time seller. If you're a junior seller who's just starting cold calling, and if you're first-time AE, first-time doing discovery, these are skills that you can totally nail by just practicing speaking to different personas. You don't have to wait to do that in action and then have your manager review all the calls and then get feedback, because that is months of delayed pipeline and lost deals. If you do that before, like the first week you start, you practice with prospects, and then you use the coaching continuously during the sales cycle, because Dextego knows what happened from your first call, knows how your product is improving and all these things, you increase your chances so much more by the time negotiation happens. So to me, I think it's a missed opportunity to not practice before. And lastly, I would say it's something that no matter how many years of experience you have, you can still benefit from, because we can meet now for the first time and I can figure out your personality and adjust, mid-call. But what matters in sales is the first impression. So if I already knew who you are before I show up, I've practiced with your digital avatar, I've gotten my scorecard, I rethought my opening liner, for instance, then I'm setting myself up for a higher chance of success. So why not do it?
So you're saying that in the moment, real-time use is where Dextego comes in, right? Real-time use.
No, what I'm saying is before even, but you take data across. You take data from your call recordings, what happened after your emails, all this, but really before you show up for the call, you have to spend 5-10 minutes doing that practice. And then after the call, sure, you can go back to Dextego and say, hey, Sachin asked me that question, I didn't know how to answer. This is post-call reflection, sure, that's good. But the true coaching happens when the stakes are high. Stakes are high before the call happens.
So there's a continuous real-time coaching.
Yes, but real time not in the call. Real time meaning in the sales cycle.
In personal sales cycle, right? If you're looking at the leaders, how will this benefit the leadership development?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, if we talk about the sales use case, a sales leader of, let's say, 100 sales team doesn't have the time to do one-on-one role plays, doesn't have the time to know the skills of each individual so well, to know how to coach them. They probably give them again, those online courses, or they meet once every couple of weeks. But if that is the case, they're waiting for the seller to come and tell them, hey, Mr. Sales Leader, I need help with XYZ. Or they hope that the RevOps or sales enablement person saw the calls, they saw the data, and gives them insights saying hey, says pipeline is good, but Ioanna's need help. Please coach them. These things are very subjective. Data can be lost sometimes. The storytelling can be confusing. So what Dextego does is, outside of having a leaderboard, it tells the sales leader specifically the top strengths and areas of improvement per rep and why, where it's getting that information from the role plays and etc. So now as a sales leader, I can do a data-driven one-on-one. I can come and know before you even tell me what you need help with. So I add that human context. I can do multiple check-ins. I can see your coachability over time. So don't wait till performance review once a quarter and see if you failed your pipeline goal. I can be proactive about giving you what you need to succeed in your role. I can also see who my future leaders are. Who are these sellers that are showing leadership capabilities? So there's a lot of benefits I get as a sales leader. Now, outside of sales, because as I explained, we really just help people communicate better and practice difficult conversations. I can also use Dextego for my leadership development, and I can use it to role play as a manager how to deliver feedback to my sales team or any other employee, honestly. People, work remotely. It's very hard sometimes to stay engaged. So let's say you have a team that is disengaged, they don't show up with the same excitement, or they're not aligned on the same goals. Now you can do a role play, knowing basically, again, insights on their personality and how they want to be talked to yield results, to do that behavioral change. And you get feedback on what you did great and how you can improve. So you are the best leader you can be. Because most of the times, let's not kid ourselves, people become managers because they're good as individual contributors, so much so that the
Very
leadership
true.
hopes they can show others how to do it. But because you're good at one thing doesn't mean you can teach others, or else we would all be professors. And so you need to develop that skill too. You articulate that, and how do you motivate your team, right? How do you coach with empathy? These are skills any leader requires today.
Very true. There are some strong points what you have shared in this. Now, I would like to get into the AI part of our discussion, right? We are clearly moving from AI as a tool and we are seeing AI as a thinking partner. In sales and leadership, where should humans never outsource judgment to AI?
I think moral values. For example, say you're just starting a company and you're creating your corporate identity, which means your mission, your vision, your values. This should not be something AI does. It should really come from the top. It should come from that human, that founder, that founding team, because that's the source of the entire existence of the company, right? I think AI is very good in data analysis, enrichment, like brainstorming, context understanding. But at the end of the day, it cannot define who you are as a company, as an organization, and what you stand for. So I would say that is something we should definitely leave to the humans. What do you think?
The ethics and values cannot be outsourced to the AI.
Yeah, and it's a big conversation with ethics because at the end of the day, you read all these scenarios like AI might, be very matter of fact and might not consider the human side of things. Like it's not all black and white. That's something I think beyond you and I, it's something we need to discuss as countries, as UN. Ethics left to AI, yes or no, or where's the limit? But for now, I think when it comes to more business stuff on the value side, it should be left to the humans for sure.
When entrepreneurs like you, AI entrepreneurs like you start talking, right? So it creates an environment and people will start listening to these opinions, is what I believe.
Yeah, and to me, and I always say that I think founders have an extreme responsibility to only build for good. Whoever builds just to build, to me, is not an entrepreneur. Again, is just an engineer, is a problem solver. These are great skills to have. But to be a founder, you create value, which is the hardest thing in the world when there's so much competition, there's so many things we already have, right? Like what else do we need as humans? But that is the billion-dollar question, right? Like, what do people need that they don't even know they need that improves their lives at a global scale?
So, what will great leaders of 2030, taking the same discussion, what will great leaders of 2030 be exceptionally good at, in your opinion?
I think one thing they'll be very good at is context understanding. Like, I think, again, AI will do all the analysis for us, right? Like, it can give you a report of everything. Like, let's say for CS, which accounts will churn and all these things. But the context only a human can really understand. Is it because the product failed? Is it because the messaging failed? Is it because it's never so easy, right? Like, where is it off? What process is off? Is it operations? Is it because we hired the wrong person? And what is the weight of all these things? It's never one thing. A business is a living organism, all these things happen at the same time, but the context understanding and the decision making becomes crucial. And then back on the soft skill side is also how do we motivate the troops? How do we find meaning in a new world where maybe by 2030 work is optional, like Elon Musk is saying, and maybe we have the 4-week work week, situation happening. Like in all these different settings, there should be a leader who is able to really unite people and explain the path forward in a very uncertain world. So I think it takes someone that has a lot of conviction, courage, and resilience to do that. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand the context, then you can't make decisions. So I'll go back to context understanding is the top skill for a leader.
Very insightful.
Thank you.
And
I hope it helps. I don't know how we'll figure all that out, but I think the more we trust AI with our data, the more the need for that human intuition to also match that level.
true, true. So, coming to my Indian audience, India has one of the world's youngest workforce and is becoming global sales GCC hub, right? What advice would you give Indian professionals who want to use AI to stand out globally, not just compete on cost?
Yeah, and I think honestly my answer won't be just specifically for Indians. Like I think anyone that
Any
works in
emerging
this
market?
space, yeah, emerging market, I think to be unique, again, back to the value, you need to add so much value. So as an engineer, for example, to me, what would make sense is the open source code, right? Like how you add value to other engineers by showing your talent and your skill. And then people get to know you, and then you create something bigger out of that. But it's about personal and professional brand. Like as a person, someone in India right now working on AI, what do they bring on the table that's so unique from anybody else? And then as a product, how do you make something that's 10 times better, half the cost? It's such a big challenge, but to me, it's about being part of the game first. How do you put your foot on the door? Like, don't think about at the beginning, how I make money, how I become famous. Like these things will always happen if you have a product of substance that adds value. So to me, that's how I would pursue it. Like, what is the value I can bring today to that community, whether it's in the US, in India, wherever? Like, you have to truly understand your customer. So I would be obsessed with customer discovery, understanding the pain points, and taking time, like not rushing to building something, but truly understanding at a global scale too, like where's competition, and then trying to figure out in your local market what is missing. Maybe you start small, but then you expand. Like you can't always think, I think, globally when you build a product. You have to start somewhere. And then you get to the next market, and you have the proof that, hey, it worked here, so now we're expanding. But at the beginning, when you have limited resources, you can't start by thinking, okay, I'm solving the world's, biggest problem, right? It doesn't make any sense. You
Yeah.
need to break it down to smaller steps.
By this podcast, I'm also trying to help to bridge that gap.
Absolutely.
So we come to the last round, rapid fire. Instinctive answers, what comes to your mind, no much thinking.
Okay.
Coffee or quiet thinking time? Coffee or quiet thinking time?
Coffee.
One AI tool you personally can't live without.
Oh my God. I'll be basic. ChatGPT.
Going back to the coffee or quiet thinking time, how much coffee do you have in a day?
I try not to go crazy, like 2-3 cups max, but I cannot function without it. I'm pretty addicted to morning coffee, I would say.
One communication habit most professionals should unlearn, not learn, unlearn.
Unlearn communication habit. I would say the classic following up, just like those follow-up emails that can be so annoying. Like we need to be more creative in how we get people's attention.
That's what Dextrego is there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, how you create
Us,
urgency, how you stay top of mind.
a sales myth you strongly disagree with.
Sales myth I strongly
You strongly disagree with.
disagree with, sorry. I disagree that cold calling is dead. I just think it has become something else, just a touch point. I don't think you can only focus on cold calling, but I also don't think it's dead. I think the best, like even called DMs, right? Like people believe nobody answers on LinkedIn. Like people are quick to dismiss channels, but at the end of the day, I've met a ton of people just by cold DMing them on LinkedIn. I've met a lot of my investors and advisors and even friends just by reaching out. I think when your message resonates, when it's indeed personalized and they don't feel like it's scammy or too salesy, they will answer. It's a messaging problem rather than a channel problem most of the times.
We also connected through cold DMs, right? I
Yeah,
did a cold
exactly.
DM. Yeah, so it isn't dead. That's true. Empathy or efficiency? If forced
Empathy
to choose,
always. Empathy
empathy
100%.
always, without any force, right?
No, empathy first.
One word that defines the future of work.
I'd say creative. Creative. I think for the most, yeah, for the longest time, we've spent time at work doing mundane tasks, not really things that stimulate us, but things that have to be done. All that now is being taken care of by AI and, well, by 2030 for sure. So we will get to finally do more creative things, I believe.
Very nice. Yona, this has been a thoughtful conversation on how AI can support, not replace human judgment in sales and leadership. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Sachin. I appreciate your time. Take care.
And to our listeners, if this conversation helped you think differently about AI and your career, do share it with someone who's building and leading teams. This is What Out What Talks with Sachin Menon. See you in the next episode.